frozen. I'm looking at your beautiful face frozen. Shake out of it. That's so weird. I shook my computer. I was like, snap out of it.
Hey guys, Amanda Smith here with the Portland Trailblazers sideline reporter Brooke Olzendam. It is so nice to meet you. I am so happy we figured out Skype. So thanks for doing this with me.
Skype, I'm telling you, like I was mentioning before, I did a Skype thing like 3 years ago, and it was the most difficult thing ever. And when you said, do you have Skype? Like all these memories came back. I'm like, this is going to take
like,
so
no,
bad.
Not again.
And then I had this wonderful idea. I think I texted you this, that I was going to do it in the studio with all the bright lights. And today happens to be like tour day, and everyone's getting a tour. So I am in an office way in the back, but there's some stuff. There's some
You've
stuff
got a better background than me.
Well, it's your beautiful face. That's all people want to see.
We can just end this now because I'll just take that compliment and call it quits. So I actually went to college in Indiana, and when I posted about you coming on my show, a lot of people who have followed you from when you were with the Pacers reached out and were like, oh my gosh, Brooke is so phenomenal. I love her. And I was like, no added pressure, guys. Everything's fine. So I feel very lucky and gracious for you to take the time to do this with me today.
Absolutely. That actually really warms my heart because I had 3 great years there. The fans there are phenomenal. Love them. And I still keep in touch with so many people just, via Instagram or Twitter. Yeah. Still interact, and of course I follow the Pacers. I check out their where they're at in the division, where they're at in the conference. I just always like to see how they're doing and catch up. And I still have so many close friends that work for the Pacers too. So that makes me feel great. Thank you.
When I watch you and things that you've done, I think that you are just so uniquely yourself on camera, which is something that I feel like a lot of young broadcasters can struggle with. So how have you been able to figure out how to do your job but not change your personality?
No, that's actually something I talk a lot about. It is, in my opinion, that you're doing yourself a disservice if you try to be someone else on camera, because then you forget who you're trying to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I kind of approach it like, well, I think I try to be myself, which is, thank you for saying that you enjoy that, because I think you got to bring the knowledge, but you got to bring some personality too. And sports are fun; they're supposed to be. So you go out there, and I've always told young people, just be yourself. Try to be as good as you can. Maybe make sure you know your craft, but at the same time, you want to just feel like you're talking to your friend at home. And so that's kind of the advice I give. Don't try to be something. Don't try to be another broadcaster. Just be yourself. I mean, you can of course look from afar and like what they do and admire them, but at the same time, you are who you are. So I try to be as approachable as I can on camera. I want people to feel like they know me, and that's nice when I see fans of the team out and about. It's like we just pick up as if we know each other, because I'm talking to them in their living room, and it's kind of, that's the goal, is to, when I meet people, they say, you're just like you are on camera, and that's what I strive to do, and that's what I tell young people is so very important.
We're going to be able to hear a lot more of that personality of yours, because you just started hosting a podcast like this week.
I'm so excited about it. It's on Uninterrupted. It's with Evan Turner, who I also covered in Indiana for a half a season. So he and I go way back, and he is the biggest personality I've ever met, not just in sports, just in life in general. He's hilarious. So it's fun because I get to kind of show my personality like we were talking about on a podcast, because it's just talking, right? And then I have this guy, Evan, who keeps me laughing the entire time. So we had a great first episode. We had Wade Baldwin IV, who's one of our younger guys, on, and he told a really heartfelt story about his story into the NBA. He kind of had some bumps, rough patches, and he didn't get emotional, but I got emotional when he was talking about it. Started crying, but he really let us in, and so that was one of my favorite parts of the first podcast. And then you got ET talking about meeting Justin Bieber and freaking out. I mean, we covered everything in the first one.
I can imagine that you are already a very busy lady. So when the opportunity came up to do this, you could have said no. Why'd you say yes?
Well, it really works perfectly for my life during the season, because it's called road tripping, and it's really just focused on being on the road, and so we find places that we have maybe a day off, or we don't have it after practice. And those are the times where I'd be prepping for games, or, catching up if I have a friend in town going to dinner, which I still, try to do, but it's just an hour. We just do 2 a month, right? So on a road trip, let me just tell you, there's some downtime. Yes, it feels very busy, but you're sitting in your room going, how many Netflix shows can I watch right now? Do I watch that movie again that I watched?
What's your go-to?
Yeah. Well, my go-to show or my go-to movie?
Show.
Oh, gosh. Well, my favorite all time was Breaking Bad. I know I'm like one of millions and millions of people. I love Breaking Bad. I watch it all the time. I still watch it. I still love The Office. I can never get enough of The Office. Parks and Rec.
Seen The Office.
Oh my gosh, really? You're so funny. I feel like you're missing out on life.
Do you think I'm funny?
Yeah.
So you have downtime, so you just pick up and.
Yeah, and it's great. It works out great. He's just so chill about it. You know, he laughed when I first asked him to do it.
Yeah.
You know, NBA players, they like, yeah, I'll do it, but they have busy lives and they have friends on the road, and it's a time commitment. So I said, ET, you know, you're my first choice for this, but do you want to do it? And he's like, yeah. I go, well, no, think about it, because this is like, you know, I need to have you for about an hour and a half for a couple times on every road trip. And he's like, yeah, I will. I was like, no, but don't say yes yet. He's like, I'm trying to say yes to you. I was like, I just want to make sure you really mean it. And you know, he's laughing about that on the first podcast. But yeah, it's a little bit of a time commitment. But you know, in the scheme of things, it's nothing. And we're just chatting. It's really enjoyable. The fans love it. You know, Blazers fans are really into content and knowing what the guys are up to. They just love it all. So it's like kind of a behind the scenes sort of conversation with one of our players. And we usually have another player on, or a third guest. So it's just great. It's fun for me, so it doesn't feel like work, and Blazers fans seem to like it so far. So it's just a fun thing we'll keep doing.
Is this something new for you, or have you done something like this before?
I actually do. In this room, I'm a co-host on The Trail, which is our team podcast, and it kind of goes, but with Michael Llewellyn, he works for us as well. VP of PR, and he just has this really awesome deep voice. So like we kind of yin and yang, but it tells stories of Blazers history, players. We just did one on Jerome Kersey, who passed away. That was really meaningful. That was good. We did one on Paul Allen. So those are more serious. They're kind of, I mean, there are some fun ones. We did one on like the music history and of the NBA and with the Blazers, and so that was fun too. But that one is more of a historical and more serious, if you will. So this one's so different, like night and day different. So I do have a little bit of a history doing podcast, but this one is definitely unique.
Okay, let's play a quick game.
Okay.
You know that you cover basketball on the court, but I want to know some of your favorite off the court basketball things. So who is your favorite hooper of all time?
Oh, of all time. Okay, so I played basketball growing up, and I was a poor defender. And I just liked shooting threes. Like, I like the glory. You hit a three, you get more points, exciting. Okay.
So that player.
Reggie Miller was my favorite growing up. I named my dog Reggie. Like, I had a dog named Reggie.
Favorite basketball movie?
Ooh, Hoosiers is, how do you beat Hoosiers? I like Blue Chips too. I gotta go Hoosiers. I know, is that like the answer everybody gives?
No, I would honestly, a little bit of a rom-com girl. I would go Love and Basketball.
Oh yeah, that's good too. That's good too.
So at the end, all right, let's put my acting to test right now. But at the end, when they're on the court and she's like, one game, he's like, for what? She's like, your heart. Gets me every time. Maybe the cheesiest line of all time.
Award winning right there, though, girl. That was good. You got me. Whew.
I just realized I'm in the wrong profession. Do you remember the first game you ever went to?
Like, are you talking NBA, but anything?
Yeah, anything.
Okay, my dad was a basketball coach. I went to my dad's games growing up. I never missed one. They're my favorite thing in the world. Like, I got to, the concession stand. They knew me, so I would definitely abuse that and go get free popcorn from the students. But I went to my dad's games since I was, 2 years old. And I feel like, maybe it sounds silly, but I have memories of that when I was very little, very young. And I really wanted my dad's team to go to state, because that meant I got to go to Tacoma Dome and like take some school off, and I got to go, to the state tournament, and that was like 4 hours away. So there's this one memory I have. We were at Meade High School in Spokane, which is where I'm from, Spokane, Washington. And they were down a couple points, and there was like under a minute. And I went to the ladies' locker room, and I started praying. I was like, I'll never ask God for anything else. I need my dad's team to win. I down on my knees. My mom was like, where did you go? I was like, I went and said a prayer. She's like, well, they won, and then we have to go. So I take all the credit for that one. So I had to say my dad's gym, Medic Lake High School, my first game.
Okay, most starstruck you've ever been?
Ooh, more stars. Okay. I got to interview, and I have two answers. One is sports, one is not, but they're both kind of around sports. When I was doing this show called Run with the Pack, back when it was the Pac-10, I was down on the field at USC, and I did an interview with Will Ferrell, and I adore Will Ferrell. And I have a picture. It actually there's a framed picture of my mom's, like, she had like a media room downstairs, really cool stuff, and it's framed. And I remember I was like, I love you. You're just the greatest. You're the greatest human that's ever lived. So that was like a big one. I don't usually get starstruck, but that was big. And I'll say my sports one, which was people ask me if I get nervous doing interviews, and I don't anymore. You get nerves where you got to nail this and you get excited and it's a live event, but I really don't. But I will say I was nervous when I got to do an exclusive with Larry Bird in Indiana, just us two. I remember going, this is Larry freaking Bird, and he's 3 feet away from me. He walks in. I was like shaking. It went well. We had a great interview, but I remember thinking, okay, I am nervous. This is Larry Bird. Don't screw this up.
Right, because he's a pretty good trash talker from what we've heard, right?
Oh, I would love it if Larry Bird trash talked me. Wouldn't that be amazing?
You could add it to your bio, like, Brooke Olzendam underneath. Larry Bird has trash talked me.
That would be number one.
Okay, if you could play a game of horse with any athlete, who would you choose?
Cool. I've already played with Dame. We did a feature on that. I lost, but I actually held my own. I actually hit a 3 from behind the backboard that I don't know how that happened. I was like, did that just happen? He still beat me. If I could play with anybody, Charles Barkley. I actually think I could beat him too. I think I could beat him.
You think you could beat him?
Charles Barkley now, maybe not back in the day. He was never big,
I get you.
or anything. I could get him from behind the arc. I think I could get him.
All right. I'll try to set it up. I'll try to set it up for you. Yeah. No big deal.
No,
call my guy Chuck. Okay, I want to get to some of the fan questions for you before we're out of time. Kate Shear would like to know, what's your favorite idea you've had for player interviews? #this, lip reading, bad jokes.
Oh, well, the lip reading one, I don't know if you know what this is. I've posted it a few times.
I watched some videos.
Okay. They are so freaking funny. I love them so much because it's really not fair. I mean, I know the word and these guys can't hear anything. It's really
right.
And so I just have the most fun with it. I have the best time because just watching them, their minds are like trying to think of it and they're trying to read my lips and they can't. And the things they say, which are, when they get it wrong, it's just, I find myself watching it being annoyed with myself because I'm laughing the whole time. I was like, shut up. It is thoroughly enjoyable. So that is one of my all-time favorite things that we've done. I think that, and the one time, like I was just mentioning with Dame Lillard, we did like an interview while we played horse, and that was fun. That was something a little bit different. Like in between shots, we'd talk about a few things and then move on. So I would say those two are probably my favorite things we've done.
Should we try it really quick?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna look. Okay.
I really can't hear you.
Go with. Who's your favorite broadcaster in Portland? One more time. Who's your favorite broadcaster in Portland?
Off the chocolate? I don't know. I know that doesn't make sense, and I know that's not what you said.
I know, and it's not fair, but it's so funny to watch people do it. I said, "Who's your favorite broadcaster in Portland?" It was really lame.
I was close.
You're so
I was very close. Obviously, you, Brooke Olzendam.
Duh.
Brandon C. Smith 5, I think this is a great question, says, what is more important in the industry, what you know or who you know?
Wow, that is a great question. Well, I mean, for me, I knew no one. My parents were both teachers. Like I said, my dad was a coach as well. So a lot of luck is involved in it too. And I mean, of course, hard work, but then you're at the right place at the right time. That happens too. I would say, I think it's what you know. You can only get away with it for so long. I mean, if you get a job that you're really not qualified for because the guy who's hiring or gal who's hiring, you'll probably be exposed at some point. You know what I mean? You can't run with that forever. Mm-hmm. Of course, you can get lucky breaks when you know somebody, and that's fine. I mean, as long as you still have the hard work and you still have, prepare and you still do the job well, they can both work for you. But I think in the long run, it's obviously more meaningful, of course, when you work your way up, but it's also nice to have connections. And I would say it's not just like when you say who my mind goes to, you have a friend of a friend, that doesn't know much about you but hires you for that reason or something like that. But also it is important to make connections and have connections around the industry and keep those. It's a small world actually. Like you'll find yourself, oh, I worked with you back in Spokane. Oh, I remember. Oh yeah, I know you're a producer from blah blah blah. Everyone, you run into each other all the time. So it's not a negative thing to have connections and continue those relationships. So I guess it's a little bit of both. But I'll go back to hard work because you need that for the long haul.
I love what you said because I think that networking is so important, but when you don't have a computer, you don't have someone around you, and you just have to know the information.
Yeah.
And you can't fake this stuff, you know?
Can't fake it.
Swanee Ice, cool username. What are your favorite podcasts, NBA related or otherwise?
Well, well, it's funny because I'm going to say Road Trippin', but I'm not saying mine. Allie Clifton is the one. Do you know Allie? Okay. She's
got her in the Lakers.
Yes. Okay. So she and I have been friends for a long time. Back when I was in Indiana, we became friends when she was sidelined for Cleveland, and she started this podcast. So she started it when she was in Cleveland, and has continued to do it in LA. So she's like the inventor of it, and so I loved hers, and I still do, and that's why I was thinking, gosh, this would be perfect to do in Portland. So that one's great because it just gives you, and I hope ours does as well, gives you insight and, like I said, behind the scenes sort of feel about it, and you get to hear stories from players and hers, former players also, just that you wouldn't have known otherwise. And I love that kind of stuff. Like Evan in our most recent one was talking about his collegiate career and some awesome stories from when he was at Ohio State. And we wouldn't have known otherwise. He's like, oh yeah, and that reminds me of this. I'm like, this is gold. You just love hearing these fun come up stories through college, the NBA. So that's got to give a shout out to my girl. That's my favorite one.
Shout out Allie.
Shout out Allie, girl.
Let's get you on the show. Solly Lowe would like to know, who is the kindest NBA player in person?
Oh, that's a great question. So all of our guys are all great. I know it sounds like, why would I wouldn't say otherwise, but truly they're all great to work with. And I think that starts at the top with Damian Lillard, who is wonderful with the media, so thoughtful with his answers and his time. So you're just patient with every question. He's just fantastic. And that kind of trickles down into all the rest of the team. But if I'm thinking of the kindest player, I mean, kind is different than just like great with media. Kind. You know what I'd say? Noah Vonleh played for us. He is now in New York. When he was such a wonderful person. And he would always come out. I'll never forget this. He's young. I mean, he's quite young. But every time he would see me, like we're at practice or in the hallway, guys are busy. They're thinking, they just walk by, and that's fine. But most of them, say hi. But he would walk up and go, "How are you, Miss Brooke?" I'm like, "What, Brooke?" I'm like, "I'm good." What happened? And that was like the first time. And then I just got used to it. And he would always, make sure he, reached out and said hello when he walked by. And so one time I had an interview with him. I said, "Where did this come from? Like, you were just so sweet." I called him, like, what did I call him? Not the sweetheart of the team, but now I'm forgetting. But his something like that. The gentleman. That's what I called him. The gentleman of the team. And I asked him where it came from. He's like, my parents. I was always, I was raised to, "No, sir. Yes, ma'am." And to thank you. Just a sweetheart of a guy. And every time I see him, I just give him a big hug and say, "I miss you, man." So I'd say Noah Vonleh.
Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this username, but I'll put it underneath. What is your favorite arena outside of Portland?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know what? I really do like Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indiana. I think it's very unique. Obviously it's supposed to give you the feel of being in a college fieldhouse, and it really does. It's beautiful. I think that one's kind of unique. The way I don't know how to explain it, but the way you get into like the lobby area, you can come in from a couple different sides, and then you feel like, okay, I'm in the lobby, and it's really cool. And actually, I did the pregame show and postgame show from I had to climb a ladder in the corner, so that was all behind me, and it was a really cool look. I loved it. And then you just kind of walk to your seat, and everyone kind of came in together and left together. It's kind of not like that in a bunch of arenas. So it was just kind of unique. I really like that one very much, and I really like the arena in Brooklyn because they do this really cool thing with their lights, and I think it's called maybe orchestra lighting. I don't know. I might be making that up, but there's some sort of word for it. And it feels as though they kind of black out all the fans, so it's dark, and then the spotlight on the floor. So it really feels very intimate, and it's just kind of a cool, different feel. And they're a lot like us, where they have most of their concessions are local businesses. So we have a bunch of great restaurants out in Portland, and they have little spots in here in the arena. That's where I'm at right now, by the way, in the arena. So I like that they do that. They keep it really local in Brooklyn. That's kind of a side note, but I like that too.
I love side notes. Final question. Squid Mark. Sorry, not Squid. I read that as Squid. Squid Mark says for both of us. So that's new. I've never been asked a question. What is your single favorite game you've covered so far?
Wow, that's wow. Okay. Last year. Yeah, this is
the best for last.
That's a tough one. I mean, I'm trying to think of games I've covered. Before I took this gig, I worked for the channel that they're on. So now it's NBC Northwest. It was CSN back then. So I wouldn't say I covered those games, but because it wasn't the sideline reporter, there wasn't one yet. So I still like would go in pregame and postgame and talk to the players. So I still would consider myself covering that. And Dame's, I mean, .9 when he hit the three was that was incredible. That one's pretty special. We've still, that's where he jumped up and, tapped it. And that's just like, if you asked anybody in this building, they'd probably say the same thing. Like, it was just unbelievable. It was such like goosebumps. So that's pretty impressive. And that was fun. It was like amazing. It was a moment. And then, gosh, that one really sticks out to me. When I was with the Pacers, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals and played Miami, and there were some really great games during that time of my life. I've been lucky. I've covered good teams. Like that's something to be said.
Yeah, what a problem to have,
This is true. Yeah, .9 is my answer. I talked way too long for just .9. So what's yours?
Up until this point, I've covered a lot of college basketball, and I was at I have to pick two games because I was at the women's Final Four in Columbus, Ohio, when Arike Agumbawale hit those two back-to-back buzzer beaters. And I swear, like up until this point, I've never been in an arena where the atmosphere has been like that. Let's hope in my career that I get, great moments like that. But up until this point, like you can't even describe what it's like.
Yeah, no, I know there's something. That's why live sports. It's like the best live.
Yeah.
You can, or not even TV when you're there. It's just, you never know what can happen. A comeback is always possible. Seen many of those. It's just, and everyone's, especially when you cover a team and you're at home, like in the arena, it's just like everybody's your best friend, when there's a fun game like that, like you're high-fiving people you don't know.
I love you,
man. I know. Those are very special moments. That's a very good answer. Remember that game. That was awesome.
I know, right? And it's like both of us, we had an answer, but it's like getting it out, like the excitement just comes back and it's like, I can't even talk. Thank you so much for doing this. I will see you here in Salt Lake City on Christmas Day. What a gift.
What a gift. Yeah, you know what's funny? So Kristen Kenny is a close friend of mine. And so we both decided she so graciously invited me to spend it with her family. I was like, that feels weird. I don't want to like overstep and spend like Christmas Eve with your family. I'm sure you'd rather she's like, no, let's spend it. So we're going to give each other stockings. So I'm glad we had this talk because I need to get on that. So I'll at least be with, a friend. And I'll come say hi to you too.
Don't forget about me.
I would never.
For Brooke Olzendam, I'm Amanda Smith. We'll see you next time.